The massive silver doors of Zaxil Academy slid open with a soft hiss. Jack Howard took a deep breath and stepped forward, his two fellow humans close behind him. The entrance hall stretched before them, its ceiling so high it disappeared into shadows. Hundreds of alien cadets moved about, their voices creating a strange mix of clicks, whistles, and rumbling tones. "Well," Jack said quietly, "we're definitely not in Kansas anymore." Olivia Martinez adjusted the collar of her new blue uniform. "They're all staring at us," she wasn't wrong. As the three humans walked deeper into the hall, conversations stopped. Alien eyes, some with vertical pupils, others with multiple irises, some glowing faintly, turned to watch them pass. "Remember what the Admiral said," Daniel Wright whispered. "We're not just students. We're Earth's first ambassadors to the Galactic Federation's military." Jack nodded. At 32, he was older than most cadets, with 10 years as a Marine behind him. His short brown hair and square jaw gave him a solid presence, and he walked with the confidence of someone used to difficult situations. A tall, thin alien with pale blue skin approached them. Its head was hairless with a slight ridge running from forehead to neck, and its eyes were large and completely black. "Human cadets," the alien said, its translator making the words sound flat and mechanical. "I am Assistant Instructor Lin. Commander Vroon requests your presence." They followed Lin through wide hallways lined with what looked like moving paintings of space battles and alien landscapes. Other cadets moved aside as they passed, some whispering to each other. "Is that them? The humans? So small and soft-looking. I heard their planet isn't even unified. They still fight among themselves." Olivia tried not to react to the comments. At 26, she had dealt with plenty of doubters during her engineering career on Earth. Being 5'4" with curly black hair and a round face meant people often underestimated her. She was used to proving herself through actions, not words. Lynn stopped at a door marked with symbols they couldn't read. "The commander awaits." The office they entered was sparse but impressive. One entire wall was transparent, showing a view of the massive space station that housed the academy. Stars and distant ships moved slowly past. Behind a simple desk stood Commander Vroon. If Lynn had seemed alien, Vroon was something else entirely. Nearly 7 feet tall with gray-green skin that seemed almost metallic, 4 arms, and a face featuring both mandibles and what appeared to be gills. The commander wore a uniform covered in badges and symbols of rank. "Humans," Vroon said, the translator giving his voice a deep, resonant quality. "Welcome to Zaxil Academy. I am Commander Vroon, head instructor of the finest military training facility in 12 sectors." Jack stepped forward and gave the salute they had been taught during their brief preparation. "Sir, Cadets Howard, Martinez, and Wright reporting, as ordered." Vroon's upper arms crossed over his chest while his lower arms remained at his sides. "Let me be direct, humans. Your inclusion in this academy is a political decision, not a military one. Your species is new to the Federation. You have barely mastered faster-than-light travel. Your technology is centuries behind most member species." Daniel, the diplomat of their group with his calm demeanor and thoughtful approach, spoke up. "We understand we have much to learn, Commander." "Much indeed." Vroon moved to the transparent wall, looking out at the stars. "This academy trains the Federation's elite. The beings who graduate from here will command ships, lead ground forces, and make decisions that affect billions of lives across hundreds of worlds." The commander turned back to them. "I have read the files your government provided. Your planet's history is concerning. None of the humans responded to this. They had expected it. You will be assigned to Training Group 7. You will follow all Academy protocols. You will be treated no differently than any other cadets despite your limitations." "We ask for no special treatment, sir," Jack said. Something like a smile twisted Vroon's mandibles. "Good, because you will receive none. Report to Barracks Level 3, Section 22. Your orientation begins in 1 hour." After they left, Lynn led them to a transport tube that whisked them deep into the station. The barracks were long rooms with 20 sleeping pods along each wall. As they entered, The conversation among the alien cadets immediately stopped. A large reptilian, being with scales the color of rust and eyes like yellow diamonds, approached them. So, the humans arrive. Its translator made the words sound almost like a hiss. Cadet Howard, Cadet Martinez, and Cadet Wright, Jack said, nodding politely. I am Thexol of the Draconian Third Clutch. The reptilian being stood nearly a foot, taller than Jack. This is my second cycle at the academy. I lead Training Group 7. A slender, almost ghostly white alien with 4 arms stepped forward. Quetzari are naturally curious. May I? Without waiting for permission, one of its hands reached out toward Olivia's hair. She stepped back. I prefer not to be touched without asking first. The Quetzari's large eyes blinked rapidly. Fascinating. Territorial about personal space, just like the file suggested. Everyone, gather, Thexol commanded, and the other alien cadets formed a loose circle around the humans. There were about 15 of them, representing species so diverse that Jack wondered how they all even breathed the same air. As senior cadet, I should warn you, Thexol continued. Humans are the first species from a death world to join the Academy in 50 cycles. Daniel looked confused. Death world? A small being with what looked like crystalline skin spoke up. Your Earth. Class 4 gravity. Extreme temperature variations. Atmospheric oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species. Regular natural disasters and the wildlife. The crystal being shuddered, creating a sound like wind chimes. We understood humans evolved to survive such conditions. Added another alien with features so fluid they seemed to shift as it spoke. But your cultural development is most surprising. Most Death World species remain primitive, focused only on survival. Olivia crossed her arms. We're full of surprises. An announcement in multiple languages echoed through the barracks, ending with the English translation. All cadets report to Orientation Hall Alpha. As they walked together, Jack noticed that despite the aliens' apparent skepticism, they were keeping a respectful distance from the humans. Not fear exactly, but caution. Orientation Hall Alpha was an enormous amphitheater. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of species took their places on benches arranged in ascending rows. The humans found seats with their training group. Commander Vroon appeared on a raised platform in the center. His voice boomed throughout the hall without visible amplification. Cadets of the Galactic Federation. You represent the finest young minds and bodies from across known space. Over the next 6 cycles, you will be tested beyond your limits. Many of you will fail. Those who succeed will join the ranks of the Federation's defenders. The commander's forearm spread wide in a gesture that somehow conveyed both welcome and warning. Your first assignment begins now. You will research the military history of your fellow cadet species. Understanding your allies is as important as understanding your enemies. Jack, Olivia, and Daniel exchanged glances. They knew what was coming. Each training group will access the Federation archives and prepare a presentation on what they learn. You have 3 days. As the assembly ended and cadets began to file out, Thexol approached the humans. We will begin with Earth's military history, the Draconian said. As the newest species, you are the greatest unknown. Jack nodded slowly. Just remember, you asked for it. Is there something we should know? Asked the crystalline being. Daniel smiled thinly. Let's just say, humans have a lot of experience with war. As they headed toward the archives, Olivia whispered to her fellow humans. They have no idea what they're about to see, do they? Jack shook his head. Not a clue. The archives of Zaxil Academy were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Instead of books or computers, knowledge was stored in glowing crystalline structures that responded to touch. The room was vast and circular, with levels that spiraled upward as far as the eye could see. How do we even use these? Olivia asked, reaching toward one of the crystals. Krelix, an Arcturian cadet with skin the color of burnished copper and eyes that seemed to catch and reflect all available light, stepped forward. Allow me to show you. Arcturians are known for our perfect memory. I will help access the Earth files. His long, 6-fingered hand touched the crystal, which immediately glowed brighter. A holographic display appeared in the air before them. Your species joined the Federation so recently that we have limited records, Krelix explained. Most of what we have comes from the data packet your government sent after first contact. Jack nodded. That should be enough to get started. Thexol, the draconian leader of their training group, folded his muscular arms. We will divide into teams. Each will study a different period of human military history. The alien cadets quickly sorted themselves out. Krelix would study what humans called the 20th century. Zorlana, a Lumidarian who looked almost human except for her silver hair and slightly purple skin, chose more recent conflicts. Thexol himself wanted to examine what the database referred to as the Great Patriotic War, part of Earth's Second World War. The humans exchanged knowing glances but said nothing as the alien cadets settled in with the crystals, activating holographic displays that showed images, video, and text from Earth's bloody history. Daniel, Jack, and Olivia moved to another section of the archives to study the military histories of their new alien classmates. What they found surprised them. This can't be right, Daniel said after an hour. According to this, the Draconians have only fought 3 interstellar wars in the past 500 years, each lasted less than a month. Jack scrolled through records of the Quatsari military engagements. Same here. Their last major conflict was decided by a single space battle. The losing side surrendered immediately after. It's the same for all of them, Olivia added, looking up from her crystal. Quick, decisive victories, minimal casualties. Wars ended by technological superiority or overwhelming force, not by grinding the enemy down. Jack frowned. They've never experienced total war, never had to fight for years with no end in sight. Meanwhile, across the archive room, the mood among the alien cadets was changing. What had begun as academic curiosity was turning into something else entirely. Krelix sat perfectly still, his copper skin now pale, as he watched footage of the Normandy landings. Thousands of humans throwing themselves onto beaches under heavy fire, knowing many would die but pushing forward anyway. The scale of the assault, the willingness to accept massive casualties, the relentless advance even as comrades fell, it all contradicted everything he thought he knew about primitive species. Nearby, Zorlana the Lumidarian had tears streaming down her face. Her species could sense emotional imprints even through recordings, and the footage of the Vietnam War overwhelmed her with the intensity of human emotions during combat. Fear, determination, rage, and a stubborn refusal to surrender, despite horrific conditions. How? She whispered to herself. How do they endure such trauma and continue fighting? Thexol was having perhaps the most profound reaction of all. The proud draconian warrior had chosen to study the Battle of Stalingrad, expecting to find examples of human weakness. Instead, he watched with growing horror as humans fought house to house in freezing conditions, surviving on minimal rations, refusing to surrender a ruined city, even as thousands died daily. The draconian military prided itself on superior physical endurance, but nothing in their history compared to the sheer bloody-minded persistence displayed by humans at Stalingrad. Humans, physically weaker than almost any Federation species, had endured conditions that would break most draconians. After 3 hours, the study session ended. The training group gathered in a small meeting area adjacent to the archives. The tension was palpable. Well, Jack said, breaking the uncomfortable silence. Any questions about human military history? A Quatsari cadet named Veth stood up abruptly. I wish to formally request transfer to another training group. The 4-armed alien was visibly shaking. I cannot work alongside a species with such what? Olivia asked quietly. Such capacity for violence, Veth finished. I watched your trench warfare. Millions dying over a few miles of territory. Years of combat in conditions no sentient being should endure. It's barbaric. Thexol surprised everyone by raising his hand for silence. Sit down, Veth. Control yourself. The Draconian turned to face the humans. I have questions. The Battle of Stalingrad. Your people defended a city in temperatures that would kill most Federation species. You had inadequate supplies. The casualties were extreme. Why not surrender? Jack looked Thexol directly in his yellow eyes. Surrender wasn't an option. The enemy wouldn't have shown mercy and there was too much at stake. But the cost was necessary. Jack finished firmly. Krellick spoke next, his voice unnaturally calm. The landing craft at Normandy. The first waves knew they would likely die. They went anyway. Daniel nodded. They did. Why? The Arcturian pressed. Why would individuals knowingly accept such high probability of death? Because it needed to be done, Jack said simply. And someone had to do it. Zorlana was still wiping tears from her eyes. Your species feels emotions as strongly as any. I've encountered the fear, the grief in those recordings. Yet you continued fighting. How did you not break? The psychological trauma alone should have been crippling. Olivia smiled sadly. Humans can endure a lot, more than you might think possible. A silence fell over the group. Finally, Thexal spoke again, but his tone had changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something like reluctant respect. We must prepare our presentation for Commander Vroon. We will need to explain what we've learned about human warfare. And what have you learned? Jack asked. The Draconian was quiet for a moment. That appearances can be deceiving. Your species lacks physical advantages. No claws, weak muscles, fragile skin. Yet you've survived and thrived through conflict that would destroy many Federation worlds. As they left the archives, the alien cadets kept a noticeable distance from the humans. Whispers followed them through the corridors. Deathworlders, endurance predators, war species. In their barracks that night, the three humans talked quietly. That went about as expected, Daniel said, sitting on the edge of his sleeping pod. Maybe worse, Olivia replied. I think we scared them. Jack stared up at the ceiling. They needed to be scared. They have no idea what's out there in the universe. Their wars have been clean, quick, almost polite. Ours never were. You think there are threats out there worse than anything they've faced? Daniel asked. I know there are, Jack said. And when those threats appear, they'll be glad to have humans on their side. The next morning, Commander Vroon called Jack to his office. The four-armed alien stood looking out at the stars when Jack entered. Cadet Howard, I've received a concerning report about yesterday's archive session. Sir? Vroon turned. 6 cadets have requested transfers out of Training Group 7. 2 have asked to withdraw from the academy entirely. Jack stood at attention, saying nothing. I've reviewed what they saw. Your species' military history is unsettling. With respect, Commander, it's also why we're here. Vroon's mandibles clicked softly. Explain. Humans don't fight because we love war. We fight because we've had to become good at it to survive. Earth isn't an easy world. Nothing has ever been handed to us. The commander studied Jack for a long moment. I'm denying the transfer requests. If these cadets cannot face uncomfortable truths, they have no place in Federation service. He paused. Perhaps there is more to learn from Earth than I initially believed. Jack left the office feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Things would change now. For better or worse, the aliens had seen humanity's darkest truth, and they hadn't even seen what humans could do when they fought for something they truly believed in. The atmosphere in Training Group 7 changed dramatically over the next few weeks. The alien cadets now moved differently around the humans. Some kept their distance, eyes darting away whenever Jack, Olivia, or Daniel looked in their direction. Others watched the humans with new fascination, studying their movements and habits as if trying to understand a dangerous but compelling mystery. It's like we've become zoo animals, Olivia said, as they walked to the morning training session. A group of small furred cadets hurried out of their path, chittering nervously to each other. Daniel shrugged. Better than being dismissed as primitive. I'm not so sure, Jack replied. Fear isn't the same as respect. They entered the main training hall, a vast space with smooth metallic floors and walls that could change configuration on command. Commander Vroon stood in the center with several other instructors. The entire academy had gathered, hundreds of cadets from dozens of species arranged in their training groups. Today begins your tactical assessment, Vroon announced, his voice carrying effortlessly across the hall. We will test your ability to adapt to different combat scenarios. The commander's four hands moved in a complex pattern, and suddenly the hall transformed. The smooth floor became a three-dimensional display of stars, planets, and ships, a space battle playing out in miniature at their feet. First challenge, standard space engagement. Federation battlecruiser against unknown hostile forces near the Cygnus border. Training groups will take turns commanding the Federation response. The alien cadets murmured with excitement. This was what most of them had trained for: precise, calculated space warfare. The humans exchanged worried glances. During their studies, they had discovered that Federation space combat was highly formalized, almost like a complex game of chess with strict rules and protocols. One by one, the training groups took their turns. They entered a raised platform that allowed them to issue commands to the simulated Federation ships. The alien cadets performed impressively, using textbook maneuvers and precise calculations to outmaneuver the enemy. When Training Group 7's turn came, Thexol naturally took the command position. The Draconian had been quiet around the humans since viewing the archives, but his natural leadership remained unquestioned. Human Cadet Howard, join me at Tactical, Thexol said unexpectedly. Your species has experience with naval warfare. Jack stepped forward, surprised by the invitation. Our space combat technology is far behind yours. I'm not sure how much help I'll be. The simulation began, and it quickly became clear that Jack was out of his depth. The protocols and calculations used in Federation space combat were unlike anything he had learned on Earth. His suggestions, based on human naval tactics, seemed crude and imprecise compared to the elegant solutions offered by the alien cadets. Their group performed adequately but not exceptionally. When they stepped down from the platform, Jack felt a sense of disappointment. He had failed to showcase any human tactical advantage. Do not concern yourself, Thexol said, noticing Jack's expression. This was a test of Federation standard protocols. You have not been trained in them. Commander Vroon watched with interest. After the last group completed the simulation, he raised his hands for silence. Acceptable performances, cadets. Now we change the parameters. The hall shifted again. This time the star map vanished, replaced by rough terrain, hills, rocks, patches of forest, a small settlement. Second challenge, ground combat with dynamic variables. Vroon's expression was unreadable as he continued. Equipment failures, weather changes, unexpected enemy capabilities. In this simulation, nothing will go according to plan. The alien cadets looked at each other uncertainly. This was not a standard Federation training scenario. Training Group 7 will go first, Vroon announced. Thexol looked surprised but quickly gathered their team on the platform. As they prepared, he turned to the humans. This is not our usual training approach, he admitted. Federation combat doctrine emphasizes precision and control. Jack smiled. Sounds like our kind of fight then. The simulation began with their team dropped near the settlement with orders to secure it against an approaching enemy force. They had barely started moving when the first malfunction occurred. Their communications equipment failed, leaving the team isolated units. Thexol tried to maintain formation, using hand signals to direct the team. Then the simulated weather turned, bringing heavy rain and reducing visibility to almost nothing. The Draconian looked increasingly frustrated as his careful planning fell apart. That's when Jack stepped forward. Everyone gather around. New plan. To Thexol's surprise, the human took charge with calm confidence. We split into 3 teams. Jack explained quickly. I'll take point with Krelix and Zorlana. Thexol, you take Olivia and the Centaurians to secure the high ground there. He pointed to a hill overlooking the settlement. Daniel, take the rest and circle around to approach from the opposite direction. This is not standard procedure. One of the Quatsari cadets protested. Standard procedure just failed, Jack replied. We adapt or we lose. Something in his tone, the voice of someone who had trained for real combat, not just simulations, made them listen. The team split up. Almost immediately, they encountered simulated enemies with capabilities not mentioned in their briefing. But instead of following the rigid Federation response protocols, they improvised. Olivia, working with Thexol's team, quickly repurposed their damaged equipment. When their energy weapons malfunctioned, she showed the aliens how to use the surrounding terrain for cover and ambush tactics. "How did you know to do that?" Thexol asked as they successfully took the high ground. "On Earth we have a saying," Olivia replied. "No plan survives contact with the enemy." Meanwhile, Daniel discovered an unexpected talent for coordinating the diverse biological abilities of the alien cadets. He positioned the small, agile Centaurians as scouts, used the four-armed Quatsari for complex technical tasks, and placed the physically powerful Draconians where their strength would have the most impact. Jack led his team directly toward the settlement, adapting their approach with each new obstacle. When simulated explosives cut off their planned route, he immediately found another. When two of their weapons failed, he showed the aliens how to share resources. "You appear to be enjoying this chaos," Krellix observed as they took cover behind a fallen tree. Jack grinned. "This isn't chaos. This is just a normal day." By the time the simulation ended, Training Group 7 had not only completed their objective, but had done so more efficiently than anyone expected. The other groups and instructors watched in stunned silence. Commander Vroon's face revealed nothing as they stepped down from the platform. "Interesting approach, Training Group 7. Not Federation standard, but effective." The remaining groups took their turns, sticking more closely to protocol with mixed results. None matched the adaptability shown by Training Group 7. That evening in the barracks, something had changed. The alien cadets approached the humans with new questions, their fear replaced by curiosity. "How did you know what to do when everything went wrong?" a young Centaurian asked Jack. "We train for things to go wrong," he explained. "On Earth, we have a saying, train like you fight like you train." Thexol sat nearby, listening quietly. Finally, he spoke. "In the archives, I thought I understood what made humans dangerous. I was wrong." He looked directly at Jack. "It is not your capacity for violence that makes your species formidable. It is your ability to function in chaos." Later, that night, as the humans prepared for sleep, Olivia smiled. "I think we just passed some kind of test." "The real test will come when they need those skills for real," Jack replied. "Let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon." But as if the universe had heard his words, alarms suddenly blared throughout the academy. Commander Vroon's voice came over the communication system. "All senior instructors report to Command Center. Immediately. Training Group 7, prepare for emergency assignment. This is not a drill." The cadets of Training Group 7 rushed to the briefing room, their sleep clothes hastily replaced by uniforms. Commander Vroon was already there, his normally composed face showing signs of stress. A holographic display hovered in the center of the room, showing a small transport ship and a moon with a toxic-looking atmosphere. "A Federation diplomatic vessel has crashed on Nexus 4, Vroon said without preamble. 6 high-ranking officials and 3 crew members were on board. Their distress signal indicates they survived the crash, but the ship is badly damaged." Thexol stepped forward. "Where are the regular rescue teams, Commander?" "Deployed elsewhere. A border dispute with the Talaxian Empire has drawn away our emergency response vessels." Vroon's 4 hands moved rapidly over a control panel. "We are the closest Federation presence to Nexus 4. Jack studied the hologram. "That moon looks rough." "It is." Vroon nodded. "Atmosphere requires filtration masks. Temperature drops to freezing at night. Indigenous life forms are mostly predatory, and the crash site is 12 kilometers from the only viable landing zone." The commander looked around the room at the young faces. "I would not normally send cadets on such a mission, but I have no choice. The officials on that transport include members of the Federation Security Council. Their survival is paramount." Olivia raised her hand. "Sir, what happened to the ship? Equipment failure?" "Unknown. They were passing near a contested border zone. It could have been an attack, though there's no confirmation." Vroon pulled up more data. "You leave in 30 minutes. We're preparing a shuttle now. This is a volunteer mission only." Jack immediately stepped forward. "I volunteer." Daniel and Olivia joined him without hesitation. There was a moment of silence before Thexol moved to stand beside the humans. "I will go." One by one, other aliens joined them. Krelix the Arcturian, Zorlana the Lumidarian, 3 Quatsari cadets, 2 Centaurians. In all, 12 cadets volunteered. "Equipment is being loaded now," Brune said. "Prepare yourselves. This will not be a simulation." In the shuttle bay, the cadets checked their gear. Each was issued an environmental suit designed for their species, emergency rations, and basic medical supplies. The humans inspected everything carefully, a habit ingrained by their training on Earth. "These filtration masks look flimsy," Olivia said quietly, examining the breathing apparatus. Jack nodded. "And they're only rated for 18 hours. The entire mission should take 12 if everything goes perfectly." "Which it won't," Daniel added. The shuttle lifted off smoothly, navigating out of the massive space station and setting course for Nexus 4. From orbit, the moon looked even more forbidding. Swirling storms of yellow-green gases obscured much of the surface. "Atmospheric entry in 5 minutes," announced the pilot, a junior instructor named Vex. "It will be rough. The storm systems create unpredictable turbulence." He wasn't exaggerating. The shuttle shook violently as they descended, tossed about by powerful winds. Equipment came loose and crashed around the cabin. One of the Centaurians was thrown from their seat and would have been injured if Jack hadn't caught them. The landing was worse. A sudden downdraft slammed them into the surface harder than planned. Metal screamed, emergency lights flashed, and a crack appeared in the shuttle's hull. "Everyone out!" Vex shouted. "The hull is compromised. Suits on now!" They scrambled to seal their environmental suits as the toxic atmosphere began to seep in. Outside, they assembled on a barren plain of black rock. The sky above them swirled with sickly yellow clouds. In the distance, jagged mountains rose like broken teeth. Vex checked the shuttle's damage, and his expression told them everything. "The shuttle is grounded. Primary engines damaged beyond field repair." "Can we call for extraction?" Thexol asked. "Communications array is intact. I've sent our status, but it will be at least 24 hours before another ship can reach us." Vex looked grim. "You must complete the mission and return here with the survivors. Then we all wait together." Jack looked at the navigation device they'd been issued. "The crash site is 11.8 kilometers that way." He pointed toward a range of low hills. "We should move out now to make the most of daylight." The group set off across the harsh landscape. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard, making each step require more effort. The alien, cadets from lower gravity worlds struggled the most. One of the Lumidarians, Zorlana, seemed to be suffering particularly badly. "This gravity," she gasped after 2 hours of walking. "It's crushing me." Her friend, another Lumidarian named Pell, looked equally exhausted. "We need to rest." Thexol checked the time. "We're behind schedule. We cannot afford delays." Jack assessed the situation quickly. The 2 Lumidarians were near collapse. At this rate, they wouldn't make it halfway to the crash site. "I'll carry." "Zorlana," he said, surprising everyone. Thexol looked skeptical. "She is nearly your size. In this gravity, I've carried heavier for longer," Jack interrupted. "Daniel, can you help Pell?" Daniel nodded. "I've got him." The Lumidarians protested weakly, but their strength was failing. Jack hoisted Zorlana onto his back in a rescue carry he'd learned in the Marines. She was indeed heavy, especially in the Diao, enhanced gravity, but his face showed no strain. They continued for another 3 kilometers before new problems arose. The navigation equipment began to malfunction, its display flickering and showing contradictory information. "Something in the atmosphere is interfering with the electronics," Krelix said, examining the device. "Great," Jack muttered. "Anyone know how to navigate without tech?" The alien cadets looked at each other blankly. Federation training relied heavily on advanced technology. Manual navigation was considered an obsolete skill. Olivia stepped forward and took apart the failing navigation device. Using components from it and pieces from their communication equipment, she constructed a crude but functional compass. "It's not precise," she explained, "but it will keep us moving in the right direction." Thexol watched with newfound respect. Where did you learn to do that? Engineering school, Olivia replied. But also camping trips with my dad. He believed in being prepared for anything. As darkness fell, the temperature dropped dramatically. The environmental suits provided some insulation, but it wasn't enough. The group huddled together for warmth as they continued their trek. Then they heard the sounds, low growls coming from the darkness around them. Red eyes reflected the light from their emergency lamps. Indigenous predators, Krelix whispered. The database mentioned them but provided little detail. The creatures emerged from the shadows, each about the size of a large wolf, but with 6 legs and armored skin. They moved with predatory grace, circling the group. Form a defensive ring, Jack ordered. Backs together, facing outward. The alien cadets moved quickly to comply. Daniel coordinated their positions, placing the stronger species on the perimeter with the exhausted Lumidarians protected in the center. Conserve power in your weapons, he advised. Short bursts only if they attack. The standoff lasted nearly an hour. The creatures tested their perimeter repeatedly but retreated when met with unified resistance. Eventually, they slunk away into the darkness. By the time dawn broke, the cadets were exhausted but alive. The crash site was visible in the distance, a long gouge in the ground ending at a crumpled ship half buried in rocky soil. We made it, Thexal said, relief evident in his voice. As they approached the crashed transport, the full scale of the disaster became apparent. The ship had broken into 2 sections. Part of the hull was crushed, but there were signs of life. Makeshift repairs, equipment arranged outside, and finally, a figure in an environmental suit waving frantically from behind a rock formation. Jack turned to the group, his expression serious despite their success. Remember your training. The real work starts now. These people are injured, frightened, and far from home. He glanced at Thexal, just like we've been for the past 12 hours. The Draconian nodded slowly. I understand now what your archives could not truly convey. This is how humans live. Always on the edge of disaster, always fighting through. Not always, Jack replied. But when we need to, yes. They moved forward together toward the crash site, ready for whatever new challenges awaited them there. The crash site was a scene of controlled desperation. 9 survivors had established a small camp around the most intact portion of the ship. Most wore the elegant uniforms of Federation diplomats, now torn and stained. 3 crew members in technical uniforms worked on damaged equipment. An older alien with silver-blue skin approached the cadets. Despite his obvious injuries, he carried himself with dignity. I am Counselor Venn of the Security Council. Who sent you? His translator made his voice sound tired but relieved. Thexal stepped forward and gave the formal Federation greeting. Cadets from Zaxil Academy, sir. Commander Vroon dispatched us when your distress signal was received. The counselor looked over the group, his gaze lingering on the humans. Cadets? Not regular rescue personnel? All emergency response teams were deployed elsewhere, Thexal explained. We were the closest Federation presence. Jack moved forward. Sir, we need to assess your situation quickly. Our shuttle was damaged during landing. We can't fly out, and extraction is at least 24 hours away. Counselor Venn nodded. 3 of our party have serious injuries. Our life support systems are failing. The ship's doctor believes 2 of the injured won't survive without proper medical attention. The cadets spread out to help. Olivia joined the crew members working on the ship's systems. Daniel organized care for the injured with the help of Zorlana, whose species had natural healing abilities that could temporarily stabilize the wounded. Jack and Thexal worked with the counselor to establish a security perimeter. What caused the crash? Jack asked as they set up emergency barriers using debris from the ship. We're not certain, Venn replied. Possibly a micrometeor strike. Possibly something else. His expression darkened. We were carrying sensitive information about border negotiations with the Talaxian Empire. Jack understood the implication. This might not have been an accident. After an hour of work, the team gathered to share information. The situation was worse than they had initially thought. The ship's main power core was leaking radiation. The life support systems were failing faster than expected, and the atmosphere was growing more toxic as a storm approached. We need to move everyone back to our shuttle, Thexel decided. Even damaged, it offers better shelter. Some of the injured can't be moved, Daniel countered. Not 12 kilometers over rough terrain. And our filtration masks are already showing signs of wear, Krelix added. They won't last another 12 hours. The discussion grew heated as exhaustion and stress took their toll. Jack watched the alien cadets argue, each proposing solutions based on Federation protocols that simply weren't designed for this level of crisis. Enough, he finally said, his voice cutting through the debate. We need to think differently. Standard procedures won't work here. All eyes turned to him. Olivia, can you repair the ship's communication array? Boost its signal? She considered this. Maybe. With parts from our portable equipment, I might double or triple its range. Do it, Jack said. We'll send a stronger distress signal with our exact coordinates. He turned to Thexel. We need to move to higher ground away from the radiation leak. There's a ridge about 2 kilometers east. Defensible position, better visibility. The injured, Daniel began. We'll make stretchers, Jack interrupted. Counselor Venn, how many of your group can walk unassisted? 5 of us, the counselor replied. Good. We have 12 cadets. We can carry 4 stretchers with 2 cadets per stretcher. That leaves 4 cadets free for security and equipment. The plan came together quickly. Using metal panels from the ship, they constructed makeshift stretchers. Olivia cannibalized their communication devices to boost the ship's distress beacon. Krelix and Daniel organized the medical supplies and distributed them so no single person carried everything vital. As they prepared to move out, a new problem arose. The ship's sensors detected movement approaching from the west, a large pack of the predatory creatures they had encountered earlier. At least 20 of them. They must have detected the ship's radiation. One of the Federation crew members suggested. Some species are attracted to energy sources. Jack looked at their limited weapons. We can't fight that many, not while protecting injured people. The ridge is our best option, Thexel agreed. But we must move now. The journey to the ridge was a nightmare. The terrain was worse than expected, with shifting rocks and deep crevices. The makeshift stretchers were awkward to carry, and the predators were gaining on them, their howls growing closer. 2 kilometers had never seemed so far. Halfway there, one of the stretchers broke. The injured diplomat, a frail Quatsari elder, fell to the ground with a cry of pain. The 2 cadets carrying him frantically tried to repair the stretcher as the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Leave me, the diplomat gasped. Save yourselves and the others. Not happening, Jack said firmly. He handed his weapon to Daniel. Cover, our rear. I'll carry him. Before anyone could protest, Jack lifted the Quatsari onto his back. The alien was almost as large as Jack himself, and the added weight and the heavy gravity made each step an ordeal. But Jack's face showed only determination as he continued forward. Inspired by his example, the other cadets found new reserves of strength. Thexal took over the heaviest stretcher without complaint. Olivia gave up her own breathing filter to a struggling survivor when his began to fail. Krelix, despite his exhaustion, kept perfect recall of their route, guiding them around dangerous terrain features. They reached the ridge just as the first predators appeared below them. The higher ground gave them an advantage, and well-placed shots from their weapons discouraged the creatures from climbing up after them. But their victory was short-lived. As night fell again, so did the temperature. Their environmental suits were failing. 3 of the filtration masks had stopped working entirely, and worst of all, the enhanced distress signal had received no response. We can't survive another night in the open, Zorlana said, her voice weak. Like her fellow Lumidarian, she was struggling badly in the harsh conditions. That's when Daniel spotted it, a cave entrance partially hidden by rock formations. Shelter, he called out. They moved the survivors inside quickly. The cave was deep enough to provide protection from the elements but had only one entrance which they could defend. Using the last of their energy cells, They established a small perimeter barrier that would at least warn them if the predators approached. Inside the cave, huddled together for warmth, the Federation officials watched with amazement as the cadets continued to work, despite their exhaustion. The humans especially refused to rest, moving from person to person, checking injuries, sharing their rations, and maintaining equipment. "I've seen many species in my long career," Counselor Venn said quietly to Thexol, "but few with this kind of endurance. Your human companions are remarkable." Thexol nodded. "We watched their war footage in the Academy archives. Many cadets were horrified by what we saw, the violence, the suffering." He looked over at Jack, who was helping Olivia repair an oxygen recycler despite his obvious exhaustion. "But now I understand. That same capacity that makes them terrifying in war makes them invaluable in crisis." Near dawn, Jack sat at the cave entrance keeping watch when a light appeared in the toxic sky above. Then another. And another. "Wake up," he shouted. "Ships! Rescue ships!" 3 Federation vessels descended through the storm clouds, their searchlights cutting through the darkness. The enhanced distress signal had worked. 2 days later, back at Zaxel Academy, Commander Vroon addressed the assembled cadets and staff. The rescued officials stood nearby, cleaned up and recovered but still bearing visible signs of their ordeal. "Training Group 7 performed beyond all expectations," Vroon announced. "They demonstrated the qualities that we seek to instill in all Federation officers: courage, resourcefulness, and unwavering commitment to duty." He turned to face the human cadets specifically. "And they showed us something else, a lesson that cannot be taught in simulations or read in archives. They showed us that true strength often comes from overcoming adversity, not from avoiding it." Later in the barracks, Krelix approached Jack with an unusual request. "I must confess something," the Arcturian said. "After viewing your war archives, I almost requested withdrawal from the Academy. The footage disturbed me deeply." He paused. "But now I understand something I did not before. Your species fights with such intensity not because you love war, but because that same quality lives when turned to rescue and protection." Jack smiled tiredly. "That's the thing about humans. We're not really warriors by nature. We're survivors." In the following days, something changed in the Academy. The human cadets were no longer avoided or viewed with suspicion. Instead, many alien cadets sought them out, asking questions about Earth training methods, adaptability techniques, and improvisational thinking. Commander Vroon revised the curriculum to incorporate lessons from human military history, not just the tactics and technology, but the mindset that allowed humanity to overcome seemingly impossible odds. 6 months later, when a new class of cadets arrived at the Academy, one of the first things they saw was a display showing footage from the Nexus I-4 rescue mission. A young Quetzari cadet watched in awe as Jack Howard carried an injured diplomat twice his size across dangerous terrain.